Oak Island Town Council public hearing and regular meeting, May 9th, 2017, is now called to order. Thank you guys for coming. It's good to see so many new faces in the audience, and welcome. Start right into the invocation and pledge allegiance, and we'll ask Mayor Pro Tem Scott to lead us, please.
Our most loving and gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for so many blessings that you have bestowed upon us. Thank you for this town, and we ask that you watch over our deliberations tonight and have us come up with the answers that are most pleasing to you. Please bless the sick and afflicted and let them feel your comfort. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, tonight we have 3 public hearings, and I think our attorney, do we need to discuss anything before we start because they're of the nature of these?
Yes, Madam Mayor, just for the record and just as a reminder, these are quasi-judicial hearings, which means they need to be conducted in a manner to ensure procedural and substantive due process. So I'll just go through a list of questions, and unless the council wants me to ask it for each hearing, this will be applicable to all of these hearings. The decision you make and your vote must be cast on the competent evidence you hear during this hearing, not something that you know of outside of this room. So if it doesn't happen here tonight from a competent witness or a competent exhibit, you can't use that information to base your decision. So it's got to be something you hear tonight, just kind of like a courtroom. Has anyone had any ex parte or one-on-one contact with the staff about this first application? Has anyone had any ex parte contact with the applicant or anyone associated with the applicant? Right. Has anyone made a site visit that might affect your decision tonight? Does anybody have a financial interest in the outcome of these hearings? Right. Can you think of any reasons that would make you impartial or would cause you not to be impartial during this hearing? Okay. All right, the order we'll take this, Madam Mayor, is we'll hear from staff first, then we'll hear from the applicant. Both parties will have the right to cross-examine the other parties. And then if there's anybody speaking in opposition, they'll be allowed to speak. Anybody that signs up, and they're subject to cross-examination as well. If anyone tries to offer hearsay or incompetent evidence, I'll admonish the council as we go through that process.
And that'll be after the public has their opportunity to speak. Thank you. Public hearing number one. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive citizens' comments on a request for conditional use permit for an assisted living community in Pine Forest.
All those that want to speak during this public hearing, if you can come forward and be sworn.
Do we have any speakers, Lisa?
Just Mr. Weeks.
Jake, I'd like to remind our speakers, the whole audience, for our public comments and our public hearings have 3-minute limits, and please state your name and address when you come to.
Actually, Madam Mayor, in a quasi-judicial hearing, there's not.
Okay.
You can set a reasonable limit, but it's not automatically 3 minutes.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Okay. The applicant is Equity Investment Associates, LLC. They're applying for a conditional use permit for an assisted living community. Our table of uses in section 18116 codifies this and marks it as permissible if a conditional use permit is obtained, which is why they're here before you today. The property is located in the CLD, Commercial Low Density Zoning District. Also, there are additional standards listed in our ordinance in section 18-226 that lists specific standards that must be met in order for a conditional use permit to be permitted. I have reviewed them along with the planning board, and they are in zoning compliance with our zoning ordinance. We checked out the site plan. It all, after some preliminary review, it all came into compliance. The 4 general standards for you to consider when reviewing a conditional use permit are listed in your staff report as well. There's a number of items attached to the conditional use permit application, like the justification narrative, the site plan survey, things like that. Planning board recommended unanimous approval. All the required public notifications, adjacent property letters, all that kind of stuff has been done. And I would also, just as a brief reminder, suggest when the motion is made, you tag along with it and adopt the associated findings of facts that I've prepared, since this is quasi-judicial. That's it for my staff report. Are there any questions of me? I know the applicant is here and ready to speak as well, if you would like to hear from him.
Any council member have any questions for Mr. Morris?
Jake, is it the whole project with the independent living and everything?
It's everything that's on that site plan. You know, this is an earlier phase to the larger phase plan development that you guys approved just a
Right.
few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So this is the beginning part in the bottom right corner of that phase development plan. Anyone else?
If the council has no further questions, the applicant has a right to cross-examine.
All right, thank you, Jake.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. Jake, did you want the materials in the agenda packet to be part of this record?
Yes.
We'll mark that as Exhibit 1.
Madam Mayor, members of council, for the record, my name is Dan Weeks. I'm here on behalf of the development group tonight. I'll just give you a brief sort of summary of kind of where we are with this project. The site itself, the location of this proposed facility is approximately 2,000 feet back off of the main entry point at Highway 211. It's behind where Navant is being constructed right now. Navant is part of a medical campus, and then this facility will sit right behind that on the main road to the right to sort of give you a sense of bearings. The site itself is 14 acres. There are 3 pieces to this, or component to this sort of campus, and we're treating this like a campus. There's the skilled nursing, which is an 80-bed facility, which is Building B on your exhibit. Building A is assisted living. These are apartments. There's 150 units proposed there. And then we have independent living, which are the 4 buildings, basically C, D, E, and F. And we have 108 units proposed there. What we have attempted to do is preserve as much of the existing conditions as we can, provided we feel adequate parking. We've treated this such that there is room for expansion. They could go and expand this site to the east, so to speak, if they choose to. We're looking, if we're able to get approval tonight, we're looking to get started here in the last quarter of this year, and with a skilled nursing facility. That means a certificate of need and going through the process. But this is a facility that I believe that everyone in this area is excited about. I think that it'll be open to the public. It is a full-service facility when you come in here, and we hope to engage sort of the users within this facility and campus to be a part of the pine forest plantation as well. I don't know how much more I can add at this point. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I got a couple. You're going to start with the skilled.
That's correct.
And my understanding, unless something's changed right now, there's no CONs for skilled, there's no CONs for assisted living. And the only way to be able to get it going is you have to do a CRC with independent living and bring the residents in from the inside. If there's no CON available, will the plans change and will you start with independent living?
That's a very good question. I'm a land planner and a landscape architect. we have, when we generated these site plans, we obtained input from the Affinity Living Group and the Meridian people. At this point in time, I think that if that does happen, then we would have to come back before you to alter this sort of process and procedure and approval. My understanding is that their intent is that they can transfer their certificate of need and build the 80-bed facility for skilled nursing.
Is that all? No other speakers, Lisa? Mr. Eves, do we need to do anything else?
Just close it.
This time I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing number 1.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Thank you. This can be discussed and made a decision on tonight. Is there any discussion before I call for a motion? Okay.
What's the CON?
Certificate of need, the state has to determine there's a need for beds in Brunswick County is the biggest thing. You can transfer, but it still has to go to the state and get their approval to be able to do that.
Madam Mayor, have a motion. Make a motion to approve this conditional use permit.
Second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Matt, if you could, on page, I believe, and Jake helped me here, on page 5 of the agenda packet. Do you have an agenda packet? I believe it's the applicant's proposed findings as to the criteria to get the,
It's on page 2
Page 2.
at the bottom.
well, I'm looking on page 5. It talks about, number 1, the use will not materially endanger the public health or safety, and then the applicant says why. Then 2, 3, 4, 5. I would just recommend that you adopt, if you're going to vote in favor of granting this, that you adopt those findings as are in our agenda packet.
You want to add it to?
Amend your motion.
Yeah, I'll amend my motion to add those 4 items.
Is that good? Does it need to say
I
adopt?
would- just to cleaner and so it's easier for Lisa in the minutes, just, as expressed in the agenda packet.
I'm sorry, what?
Well, I'd prefer you just to adopt the findings as to the criteria as found in our agenda packet.
Okay, do you want me to say them?
I mean, if you agree with what I just said, then you can amend your motion, you don't have to repeat it.
I agree.
Just say what he said.
I agree. What he said.
Yeah, what he said.
One question, Mr. Eads, should we include the parcel ID number in the motion? Because this is for a specific parcel.
I mean, it's in the application, you're granting a specific application, and the parcel IDs should be on in the application.
Show it to me.
I'll be glad to note it in the minutes in parentheses.
Okay, we have a motion before. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
It's on page
Passed
6, too.
unanimously. Public hearing number 2. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive citizens' comments on a request for a conditional use permit for outdoor displays and sales.
And again, Madam Mayor, this too is a quasi-judicial hearing, so I admonish the board about the things we talked about earlier. And I'll just ask one question. Is there any reason why any of you feel like you can't be impartial?
And do we have any swearing in?
We do. Doris Bean. Were you signed up to speak on this public hearing? I'm sorry, what? Were you signed up to speak on this public hearing?
I was, but it was just a comment on something else, not this. I don't know if maybe I didn't sign up.
Okay, so you just want a general comment? Okay, I'll put you on the other list. Then I have nobody signed up to speak for that.
Do you need to say anything, Jake?
You solemnly swear that the evidence you give to counsel during this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Okay. You guys are okay with it? I can give a brief staff report. All right. The applicant is applying for a conditional use permit, as you know, in order to have an outdoor sales and display. The property is over at the corner of Southeast 50th Street and East Oak Island Drive in front of the VFW. This is codified in Section 18-116, outdoor sales and displays. It's within our table of uses. It says for this type of use, you must obtain a conditional use permit from the town. Like with the last CUP, there's additional standards, again listed in Section 18-226 of the ordinance. Those have been reviewed and they are in compliance. Once again, all the property notifications have been done, and some considerations to take into account are the health and safety of the public, potential injury to property values, undue concern to the neighbors, use will be in harmony with the area. That's the criteria set forth by our ordinance and by case law for conditional use permits. The planning board has reviewed this and recommended approval with some conditions that were codified in the staff report. That's before you. And that's essentially it. One other additional thing. There was a slight amendment to the conditional use permit. It's no big deal, but there's a small sliver of land adjacent to the property that was applying for it that was folded in and is included in it. So it's for two properties. One's a small contiguous parcel directly parallel with it. So that is it. The applicant's here. If you guys have any questions of me.
Question. I noticed the planning board said obtain an independent water source.
Yes, that was a recommended condition by them.
What does that mean? Are they on, is there a well there now, or is there?
Right, they have worked out, for the time being anyway, it looks like a private agreement with the VFW to share some water, and planning board thought it best that they had their own individual set up water source.
How about sewer facilities? Are they on the site?
There is no facilities to work that. There are sewer lines nearby, but it hasn't been hooked up yet.
But there's no facility there for people that work there to use the toilet?
That is correct.
Is that permissible under our
Under-
ordinances?
Yes, it is. I mean, there's no principal structure on the site right now. It's just, they're selling trees and supplies like that for landscaping, things of that nature.
They're going to be erecting a building there for an office. I understood, a sales office or someone to.
If it's a principal structure, then it will need to have those types of facilities. But if it's just like a little, gazebo type thing for someone to sit under to get outside of the shade, that might be a different story.
Still gonna have to go to the bathroom.
Well, that's my only concern about this. And there are gonna be people working there. There needs to be some type toilet facility there, maybe a porta-john. I don't know. What do the rest of you think?
What sort of outdoor sales?
They have palm trees. I'm sure you guys have seen it when you drive by on East Oak Island Drive. They have landscaping materials, piles like that, gardening type stuff. The porta-john is a condition that you guys could hypothetically add as a condition upon approval if you wanted to.
But if they decide to build facilities, then that'll be taken care of under permitting and that type of thing, correct?
If they build an actual structure.
The bathroom be
Okay.
taken care of. under that.
Yeah, that's part of state building code.
But until that point, there will be people working there to sell the products they're gonna have available or to meet customers. So I think there needs to be at least a porta-john on the site.
How about their relationship with the VFW? Would they let them use their facility?
I think that's a question that's better suited for the applicant. I also worry about hearsay a little bit. If someone says, well, the VFW said.
Yeah, I mean, that's
They
not
told
gonna be,
this.
that won't be binding in any shape, form, or fashion. Even if the applicant came up here and said, yeah, we've got it worked out with them, you can't, the town would have no jurisdiction to enforce that down the road.
Any more questions for Jake?
The applicant is here if
Okay.
you guys have questions for him.
Jake, are you fine with this application as it's in the agenda?
Yes, let's,
You wanna make that an exhibit?
can we enter that as Exhibit A? Thank you.
Is it the name of the applicant? Would you like to speak? Come on up.
Good evening. My name is John Coble. I'm the applicant with Atlantic Elite that's applying for it. And just to clarify, we do currently have a porta-john on site. That is what we had planned to use. We just have
You
one
wouldn't have any
person
problem
working
if we made that a condition of this permit then?
it. No, sir. Yeah, that'd be fine. We had planned on getting our own water source, but we have to have the conditional use permit in place in order to obtain a well permit and an electrical permit in order to hook that up.
Does the council have any questions?
I do. Why wouldn't you hook on to the town water source?
All we're using the water for is irrigation for the plant material that we have there for sale. So that's really why we were just gonna use a well, install a well, since it's just for irrigating plant material. That's the only need we have for water at this point.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Were there any more speakers for this? At this time, I entertain a motion to close public hearing number 2.
Motion to close.
All in favor? Second, I'm sorry, second. All in favor? Thank you. We can take action on this request tonight also.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the CUP, to approve the fact findings and the outdoor sales and display conditional use permit with the following conditions: that they meet the conditional requirements that the planning board recommended, to include having a porta-john on site at all times.
Anything else, Mr. Reeves?
No, that's fine. And the applicant's already agreed to that, so.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, please? Thank you. It's unanimous, Lisa. Okay, public hearing number 3. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive citizen comments on a request for conditional use permit for a golf cart rental and repair business.
Madam Mayor, I'll just remind the council that this is a quasi-judicial hearing. Same thing we've talked about twice now is applicable to this hearing.
Anyone to swear in?
Rick Jennings? Anybody here to speak in this public hearing?
We have 4 of these tonight, or just 3? How many of these we have tonight?
This will be similar to the others. Find my notes. This is for a recreational vehicle sales, rentals, and indoor repairs. It's for a conditional use permit. Within the zoning district the property is located in, conditional use permits required. They are in the CB Community Business Zoning District. All the proper public notifications and adjacent property owner notifications have been done. Planning Board did review and recommend approval of this conditional use permit. They anticipate beginning business shortly after receiving their permit. And all the attachments and items in the agenda packet are covered: the permit itself, the justification narrative, some photos of the site, a survey as well, and some general information. There are some photos provided. I just wanted to clarify that I had written in the photo, but I just thought it'd be helpful because the copy didn't come out well. They have a similar type business in Chatham County, and they provided photos of their headquarters there, so you could have an idea of what it would look like, the inside anyway, at the property here in Oak Island. So that's what the beginning set of photos are like. And then they actually have photos of the actual property here, which is just a couple blocks over. And that's essentially it. I'd like to remind you to, just like before, adopt the findings of facts when the motion is made, and we can enter in all the items here now in the agenda packet as Exhibit 1. That's all. Any questions?
Questions for Jake, anyone?
Jake, the only thing that really stands out at me is it says a vehicle or watercraft to be repaired may not be stored on the property no more than 120, that's 4 months.
They have to be stored on the inside. So if someone brings in, for example, a golf cart that they need to repair, it takes longer than that time frame to repair it and return it to the customer, then it becomes an issue, code enforcement issue, which would be a difficult one to enforce unless you're actually walking inside and taking an inventory of everything they have and looking at their books. It's one of those things in the ordinance. That's why we're having a rewrite of it.
More questions?
Have you observed the lighting there, and does it meet our ordinance requirements?
I have driven by. I mean, the lighting is in existence, and they're not proposing to add any new lighting, and the lighting that was approved there was permitted by the town at the time that was constructed.
Is handicap parking allowed on the street right away?
Parking on the right-of-way for each business has to be contained within the property lines. If a business hypothetically were wanting to put up a restaurant and then they showed on the site plan survey all their parking in the right-of-way, it'd be denied, and we tell them that you have to move inside the property lines. So we can't calculate that towards their minimum parking requirements.
Any more questions? Thank you, Jake. I think that other gentleman that was sworn in was.
The applicant, is that Mr. Jennings, the applicant?
Would the applicant like to speak?
Good afternoon. I'd like to say a few words. My name is Vernon Marley. I go with Pete's Golf Cars. I'm the owner of Pete's Golf Cars, and the property back there is not, excuse me, I want to clarify one thing. It's not in Chatham County, it's Randolph County, where my shop's at, in Ashburn, North Carolina. And as far as doing golf car repair work, it's going to be minor. If anything's substantial, it'll be took back to Ashburn, Dutton, and then brought back here to the island. But as far as picking up and delivery here on the island, there'll be no charge for that because it's close by. The island's 11 miles long. That would be beneficial for the town. And the tax money as far as selling the golf cars and all, it'll stay here in this particular town. That's the only thing I'd like to say. If y'all got any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
So basically what I'm hearing you say is you're just gonna do basic service here and sales.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, and rentals. And as soon as I get my inspection machine, I'll be doing inspecting golf cars also.
Okay.
'Cause I've already been to the school. I've been doing this 35 years.
Batteries, the used batteries, how would you handle those as you replace them?
Place in Rock Hill, South Carolina will be bringing them up here to me, Carolina Energy,
Okay.
which is Trojan batteries. They'll be all stored inside, nothing outside.
Okay.
Any more questions? Thank you, Mr. Marley.
Ma'am.
There's no other speakers.
Mr. Eads,
What's that?
did you say that the agenda memo and the attachments were accepted as the Exhibit A or Exhibit 1?
I don't think we did, actually, but yes. We did for the first two, but Jake, you want this one in there as well?
At this time, I entertain a motion to close public hearing number 3.
Motion to close public hearing number 3.
A second. All in favor? Thank you. This you can take action on tonight, council. Any discussion or motion? I'm ready for a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for a golf rental and repair business at 4901 East Oak Island Drive and the associated findings of fact.
Second, please. Second. All in favor? Thank you. That ends the section of our agenda that is the public hearings. So we'll move on to the presentation, proclamations, and recognition. And we've got a little bit of everything tonight. I'd actually like to add, I was going to add it when we got to the agenda, but since it's before then, I'm going to go ahead and add the Arbor Day proclamation and a presentation by the Beach Preservation, for the Beach Preservationists of the Year. The first one is the proclamation, Safe Boating Week, and I'm going to ask Councilor Medlin to read that, please.
I believe we have some members of the Coast Guard Auxiliary with us, if they would like to
Yeah,
come
if we
forward.
have members here, I think I saw someone come in. Would you please come up to the podium?
How are you? Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, sir. Okay. Recreational boating is fun and enjoyable, and we are fortunate that we have sufficient resources to accommodate the wide variety of pleasure boating demands. However, our waterways can become crowded at times and be a place of chaos and confusion. While being marvelous resources of recreation, boating to the unprepared can be a risky sport. Not knowing or obeying the navigation rules or the nautical rules of the road, drinking alcohol or taking drugs while operating a boat, or choosing not to wear your life jacket when doing so is clearly not the smart thing to do, are all examples of human error or lack of proper judgment. One particular behavior that can reduce the number of boaters who lose their lives by drowning each year is by wearing of a life jacket. It is a simple task that has the potential to reduce terrible losses of life. Knowledge and skills are all important in reducing human error and improving judgment. If people are aware of the risk, they are likely to take the precautionary measures to protect themselves and their friends and family. This is why we must continue to spread the message of boating safety, not only during National Boating Safety Week, but also throughout the entire year. Whereas, on average, 700 people die each year in boating-related accidents in the United States. Approximately 71% of these are fatalities caused by drowning. And whereas the vast majority of these accidents are caused by human error or poor judgment and not by the boat, equipment, or environmental factors. And whereas a significant number of boaters who lose their lives by drowning each year would be alive today had they worn their life jackets. And whereas today, life jackets are more comfortable, more attractive, and more wearable than styles of years past, and deserve a fresh look by today's boating public. Therefore, I do hereby support the goals of the North American Safe Boating Campaign, the United States Coast Guard, and the Coast Guard Auxiliary, and proclaim May the 20th through the 26th, 2017 as National Safe Boating Week and the start of the year-round effort to promote safe boating. In witness thereof, I urge all of those who boat to wear a life jacket, wear it, and practice safe boating habits. And this proclamation will be signed by our mayor. And that's it. Would you like to speak?
I don't need to speak, but I. Chief was from the station. I'll make it so we're gonna take this. Very much.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, thank you. The second proclamation we're going to have tonight is the Arbor Day proclamation, and Mayor Pro Tem Scott is going to read that for us.
Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. This holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with a planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. Trees reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, cleans the air, they produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. Trees are a renewable source, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other things. Trees in our town increase the property values, enhance the economic viability of business areas, and beautify our community, and the wooded nature of Oak Island helps it set it apart from other beach towns in North Carolina. Trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Town of Oak Island has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting practices. Therefore, the mayor sent brochure, Town of Oak Island does proclaim May 10th as Arbor Day in the town of Oak Island and urges all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day, to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, to consider planting their own rain gardens using native trees and plants. And on a different note, we have a seedling giveaway to celebrate Arbor Day here, thanks to the combined efforts of Tree City USA Group and the Beautification Club. But this year we're going to do something different. The nursery where we buy seedlings was flooded during Hurricane Matthew. So the groups decided to focus on stormwater and worked with the staff to plant a rain garden at Bill Smith Park. And everyone is invited to a ribbon cutting at the garden tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. And the mayor's not going to be there, so I get to do the ribbon cutting. And I want to see everybody, including you 3 police officers, tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Good job. Now we have a presentation, and I'm assuming by Police Chief. Recognition of our Oak Island's finest Oak Island police officers.
Your Honor, I actually have two presentations, if you can just bear with me for a minute. The first one, every year, the Southport Oak Island Rotary Club asks us to choose an Officer of the Year. The Officer of the Year is voted on by the members of the department. I do not have a vote. The administrative part of the administrative staff does not have a vote. So they vote for their Officer of the Year. And this year, they chose Sergeant Frankie Cook. Sergeant Cook is actually in training tonight it's called new officers, or new sergeants training, so he just left Fayetteville at 5 o'clock, so there's no way he can make it here by this time. So I got Lieutenant Greg Githens, who is his direct supervisor, to come up and stand in for him. But just a little bit about Sergeant Cook. He started with Oak Island Police Department in June of 2004. He has served as a patrol officer, detective, field training officer, and master patrol officer, and he was promoted to sergeant in September of last year. He is an instructor certified by the state. Since becoming sergeant, Frankie Cook has developed a program through Google Documents so that information from different shifts can be readily available to all officers all the time. We used to have to write the information down, and after 2 or 3 days, it gets forgotten about. Now it's there all the time. All they have to do is just look at their phone, and it's there. Sergeant Cook has also inspired one of his officers, Officer Higgins, to develop a presentation on different types of uniforms that will keep the officers cooler in the summertime, yet still provide them with the safety afforded by their ballistic vests. Officer Higgins and Sergeant Cook presented this to the administration, and because of their efforts, as of July 1st, we're going to offer those new uniforms to all of our officers, those who choose to wear them. Lastly, Frankie Cook has become a mentor to his younger officers and has inspired his officers to become more community-oriented. Sergeant Cook's shift readily volunteers for community events, to include spending time with elementary school students on Mondays and high school students on Fridays. So for that reason, I believe that's why he was voted for Officer of the Year. So, and Lieutenant Githens is here to stand in for him. So. My next presentation, come on up, and if y'all two will come up also. My next presentation, on March 17th of this year, there was a house fire at 5101 East Yacht Drive, and there's no way that I can ever explain what it's like to go into a burning building. So what I'm going to do is just read the official report narrative that was written by one of the officers that was there on scene, Officer Brandon Bullock, on the end. And this will kind of explain what happened that night. I did take out all the names and stuff for privacy of the victims and such. On March 17, 2017, at approximately 23:35 hours, 11:35 p.m., I was dispatched to 5101 East Yacht Drive in reference to a structure fire. Upon arriving on scene, I immediately saw fire and smoke coming from the second story of the residence. Master Police Officer David Everett and I went into the driveway of the house and heard a woman screaming for help on the second floor of the residence. There were also 2 males standing in the front yard stating that the female was trapped inside and could not get out. MPO Everett and I entered the residence through the basement door, tried to get the female out. We located the female on the second floor and brought her out safely. Upon exiting the house, Brunswick County EMS was on scene, so I walked the female to the paramedics, and they began assessing her. I went and spoke to both male parties, and they stated they were awakened by smoke, and they immediately left the residence, but the female became trapped. The female was transported to Dosher Hospital by Brunswick County EMS. The 2 males refused treatment from EMS, but later drove themselves to Dosher Hospital. Oak Island Fire Department then arrived on scene and extinguished the flames. The Red Cross was contacted in reference to the fire. I have viewed the videotape from the body cameras, and this doesn't quite explain what it was like when they were inside. You could see the smoke everywhere. You could see flames to their right side, and you could see stuff melting on the walls. So I could not imagine the heat that they were in to get the female out. And also, I would like to point out that their worry after they got the female out, the biggest worry they had was that they were going to get in trouble with me. And I can assure you that had they gotten injured, yes, they would have probably gotten in trouble, but since they're not injured, we're okay. So, Master Officer David Everett right here, and Officer Brandon Bullock on the end there. one quick final note. In the past 10 years, we've only had 2 fires where people have been saved. The other fire, an officer was driving along one night and happened to see fire in a house, went, banged on the doors, woke people up, got them out, and that was Lieutenant Gibbons. So all 3 of mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Mayor, before we go to the actual presentation, could we, do you think we could do George's presentation?
That's, yeah, that's what I was doing next.
We have Debbie here from the Beach Preservation Society.
My name is Deborah Ollis, and I'm with the Beach Preservation Society. Thank you, Mayor Brochure and Town Council, for allowing me to speak tonight. Good evening, everyone. I've been asked to announce this year's winner of the Royal Starfish Award as the 2016 Beach Preservationist of the Year. This plaque hangs down in our lobby downstairs and for everyone to see, and it announces all of the past winners.
Trying to get him to join you.
This is our George. I am honored to present this award and call this person my friend. This year's winner has been a strong supporter of the Beach Preservation Society for many years. And that support extends across the island as well as the 9.5 miles of our beachfront. The last 3 storms that hit our island were Anna, Joaquin, and then last October, Hurricane Matthew. Each one, especially Matthew, presented overwhelming challenges to our roads and our beachfront. This person went above and beyond the call of duty to orchestrate a town-wide plan to restore order on the island and assist in bringing renewed life to our severely damaged dune structure. This is still a work in progress, but it is being accomplished while he performs his other duties and responsibilities, all associated with an exhausting job description. In addition to storm reaction, this individual has also been supported from the start with the Oak Island's Beach Ambassador Program. This is near and dear to my heart. Beginning its 4th season, the program initiated by the Beach Preservation Society would be so difficult to sustain without his continuing support. I'm sure you all remember that movie, Ghostbusters, where the familiar phrase was, "Who you going to call?" Well, this person may or may not be a Ghostbuster, I'm not sure. But when things go awry, or when we need special attention on something, this person's name always comes up first. And when we have to answer a question, who are you going to call? We call George. And he's so embarrassed right now. Oh, my. So, I'll let him off the hook. In recognition of the many accomplishments of this individual and his unwavering support to the town and to the Beach Preservation Society, I am very happy to present this year's Royal Starfish Award to my very good friend, Mr. George Napier.
Thank you very much, Debbie. I am honored to accept this award and to be chosen to receive it, and I'm humbled at the same time. And all of those people that go to that Beach Preservation Committee meeting that's held once a month that we all go to, in my opinion, they all deserve this award more than I do. They work so hard behind the scenes to make things happen, and they're out on that beach and they're they're taking care of the accesses, they're taking care of trying to keep the people off the dunes and tell them the rules that we do have to try to keep our beach, you know, as safe and friendly as it is. And in my opinion, they deserve it more than I do, but I'll gladly take it. And I have one other correction I'd like to make if I could. When Debbie said that I orchestrated a plan to take care of the cleanup after Matthew, that's not true. I executed the plan. That plan came from Public Services Director at the time, David Kelly, who's now the town manager. He put that plan together with a tiny, tiny bit of input from me, and it was a great plan, and it worked. It worked very well, if I have to say so myself. And I'd like to make that correction. David put that plan together, not me. I just tried to execute it and tweak it a
No,
little
it's
bit.
all good. We work together.
Yes, we do. Well, thank you, Debbie. Thank you all so much.
Congratulations, Mr. Napier. I think we surprised you twice. Did we surprise you this time too? All right. Now we're going to have a presentation regarding the future commercial development access issues on intersection North Carolina 211 and Midway Road and Middleton Boulevard. Welcome to Mr. Stevenson from Raymond and Camp Associates. I'd like to add before you start your presentation, Mr. Kepler, is that upon my request, you are presenting this tonight so our council can all get the full story on what we're going to lose financially and the tax base if that one last corner of that commercial corridor on the other side of the bridge is not made of reasonably access in and out to where other big grocery stores or whatever commercial businesses would come, it would be interesting to them to invest. Right now, it's kind of landlocked. And the new plan that DOT has on the board is the one that we objected to in a previous, I think it was last month's meeting. So this is just the rest of the story, and it'll give you an idea of what we're actually going to lose financially to the town of Oak Island.
Good evening, and thank you. I'm Ronald Stevenson with Raymond Kemp & Associates, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the interchange and some of the impacts it would have and what we think would help the viability of one of the key pieces of property along this corridor. This is just a picture here of the interchange that NCDOT is currently planning, and well, they're more than planning, they're designing it at this point. And you can see here in this, the property kind of in question is over here in this area. So these are just the bridge on Middleton over NC 211 and the two little loop connector roads that DOT is designing.
Could you go back to that slide just one before you? Could you take your arrow and show us how, when you're coming from Oak Island, you get back going towards Charlotte, and then there's another way when you're coming, Madam Clerk, when we were looking at it just yesterday, when you were, was it coming from Charlotte and then how you got back to go to Oak Island?
Yeah, if you could use the arrow to show.
I'll see if I can do that. So if you're coming basically from the west, to get to this property is relatively simple. And I have a slide that'll show some things like some arrows and stuff in just a couple minutes.
Oh, okay.
But coming in, you can turn right into the property, but the trick is getting back to the left. And the way you would have to go back under the current plan is you come out this driveway and make a right-hand turn, come all the way down here, make a right-hand turn, come down to this, which would be a light, make a left, go over the bridge, up to this ramp, make a right, come down here and make another right, all to go back to towards 17.
That's what we're saying.
So yeah, so it's it's definitely so inconvenient that there's a lot of potential retailers have looked at this particular situation and said, if you can't get people to and from Oak Island conveniently and to and from the west, we can't, there's going to be no interest here for it to be a viable commercial development. So right now, where things stand, this is just an overview of the property outlined in red. There's approximately 400 acres of property here in this corner. And this is really the last big piece of property at a major intersection. And so this is kind of what I would say is kind of the last commercial opportunity really for the island, for Oak Island. And really even for this whole area, as a matter of fact, because commercial wants to be at the corner of two major roadways, and that's what we have here. And you can see the only access they have at this point is that one I was just showing, which is right here in orange. They only have one access point for this 400 acres there. And you can see the interchange, kind of where it is outlined in purple. That's the rough location of the interchange. So that just gives you the magnitude of it. Now, it would take a little more time to get a true tax benefit for the town. This is just some numbers that we came up with relatively quickly. And the property, let me back up just for 1 minute. The property, what we sort of envisioned, and I'll show you some plans in just a minute, is this front property is about 100 acres. And that would be, this would be the commercial area, and then behind it, back in here would be residential. So some type of mixed-use development. So we were just estimating, this is just a rough estimate of maybe what the commercial area would be worth. We think it may be a little low, but so we think it's probably be about $80 million in tax value if and when it's fully built out, the commercial area. And the residential area, we were just estimating at this point maybe up to 900 lots could be constructed there. And we were estimating the value per lot at $65,000. So that gives you $58 million just for the property there. That doesn't include the structures or the homes themselves. But so we just try to rough something out here to give us an idea. And this doesn't include like sales tax or anything like that. This is just really property tax that would come back to the town. The commercial will be, you see, over $200,000 a year. If I did the math correctly, and the residential would be $168,000 plus per year. So just on the property itself, it would be over $400,000 a year in tax revenue. And I think again, that doesn't include the actual homes on the residential area. It's just the lots themselves. But if I did the math right, this is what I would say probably is a lower estimate, but it gives you some idea of the amount of tax revenue that could be generated by this property. And again, I think it's probably low, but just some rough numbers for that. And I'll show you a few more things. So one of the things to make this viable, we were looking at is this is the access that's currently approved. It can stay there, but we would need to have, what we'd like to have is it to be a right in, right out driveway with a left out. So you couldn't turn left in here, but you could turn left out. And that makes it simpler. It's not what DOT is currently approved for this, but we make it simpler. This location is really across from the Lowe's grocery store, but this would be a left in. So this location, you coming from like Southport, you can make a left into the property, and then a right out and a right in also. So just in this particular access proposal on 211, we have that left out that solves that problem we just looked at, which is how you get back to the west. The other issue we're trying to solve is how you could get into this property from the island. And right now, what we were proposing, what we would like to see is a way for people to come up here, make a left, which they'll be able to do that with DOT's design, but we wanted to try to explore the opportunity of an access off of this little loop road that DOT is building. So you could come in from the island, make a left, and then make a left into this property, the commercial area. And then going back to Oak Island would be very convenient, right turn, so back to the island. So, and I'll show you some areas in just a minute, but this is just one other reason that, well, the traffic volumes on 133 you can see are 24,000 cars a day. On Middleton, it's 5,000 cars a day, roughly. And the reason why you can see is that the commercial areas are all over here at Southport. So people on the island would come off and come up here to this commercial area. There's not really any commercial activity here other than the relatively new Lowe's. So, the property we're talking about is here. So we think with all the congestion on 133 down to Southport, if we had commercial activity on this particular property, this traffic number would go up and the 133 number, the NC 133 number would maybe stay the same or not increase nearly as much. So there's plenty of room to handle more cars on Middleton coming off the island, but they need a place to go. This was just it just gives you an idea of something like could be done here, just a layout. Again, it's just a sketch, but this does not, the property for where the interchange would go is right in this area, but this was done before, this sketch was done before the interchange. Was an idea from DOT, but you can see there's commercial with some, nice kind of walkability, mixed use type development that could go in there, nice landscaping, and then, access to the residential area kind of behind it, in this area. So this is a mix of retail, some office space, that kind of thing. So it's really could be a nice development there, but the access is an issue. This is just, I just want to point out, there is a letter from a commercial entity that's saying if you can't turn left back onto 11 or you can't get to and from the island, there's no interest in the property. So what we were asking for here was really quick, and we need to work with DOT on this. Right now, DOT is not really entertaining these options with us. So we've asked, they're not really working with us on this. So we really need some help, and the time to do this is now because they're designing this. And once this is built, it probably wouldn't happen. It's not like we're going to be able to come back and get this in the future. Now that they're designing it, before they build it, we need to have this plan kind of worked out because once they build it, it's probably too late. Let me show you a couple arrows here. One of the things here is that I wanted to point out is this idea of an access off of a loop road at an interchange. They're doing it right down the street at 133. Right down at 133, this is a Lowe's Home Improvement. They're building this little loop road that's going to serve the interchange, and they've got 3 driveways off of it. 2 of them for the Lowe's and 1 for the bank in the corner. So this is not necessarily a new concept. This is right down the street. Sorry, wrong way. And this is up in Raleigh area. Same thing. DOT has approved a plan to come off of an interchange. You can see the before condition along the left side is what it is today, and then they're redoing the interchange ramp on the right-hand side. So there is precedence for this. This is kind of complicated, and may be better if I just email it to you all. You can study a little more, but this just shows you how you get into this site with the requested access plan from every direction. So the green's coming from Southport. You can see they come under the bridge, make a left in, no problem. Coming from the island, you see the purple. Just come up, make a left, and another left, and you're into the commercial area. Coming from the west, you just make a right-hand turn in orange. And then coming from Midway Road, you just come down and make a right-hand turn and a left in. So that's how you would enter. So all those are very convenient entering movements. The exiting movements with the access plan we're talking about again just shows you going back to Southport. You can see the green. You basically make a right-hand turn on the 211 and you're back towards Southport. Pretty convenient. The orange going back to the west on 211, back towards 17. If we had this left out there, you just make a left out and you go. Very simple. You don't have to deal with the interchange and all those confusing turns. Going back to the island in purple, you see it's very easy. Make a right-hand turn off this loop road and down right-hand turn on Middleton. And the same thing for Midway Road going back to the north. You make a right off of this driveway off of the loop road, hang a left, go across the bridge, and you're there. So I think this access plan we're talking about works well. We just have to work with DOT to try to make it happen. And that's it. I've got some more information if you have questions, but I just wanted to give you a quick rundown of it.
Back to where you have the map that showed keep going. It was where you showed the properties there. Go that one.
This one?
Well, where you show here.
Okay.
I think that's it. Maybe one more. It was where you showed the commercial properties.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry. This one. Okay. Yeah, the commercial areas here in Southport.
Right.
all along 211.
Right, and then on that map, I think it's easier for the council to visualize that that is our only commercial corner that's left. So if we lose that, we lose all that possibility of that tax base and commercial revenue.
Yeah, the other thing I want to point out, DOT, there was a commercial interest in this area, but DOT, with putting their loop road in that corner, basically takes that away. So,
Right.
I like this map because it shows the island itself is pretty much developed. So going back onto the mainland, there's really, for a real true big commercial area, this is really it. This is the last corner. The Lowe's is developed across the street and it's open now. The other corner, as I said, is DOT is going to basically take that with their little loop road. So this is really it. This is the opportunity, and you can see it's a fair size, track. So, and I really like this map because it shows you the traffic numbers too. There's no commercial over here on Middleton Boulevard, and so you also correspondingly don't have the traffic. So there's not that road is really over designed. That road should be can easily carry what's over on NC 133, 25,000 cars plus a day, and we're carrying not much of that. So I think this kind of shows the whole story of why we would need this here.
So if the DOT is not willing to work with that, your suggestion, or come up with a suggestion that allows a smoother flow of traffic, then would this be better for that whole interchange to go away and just keep the 4 lanes on Highway 211?
Well, the interchange itself, by DOT's own traffic projections, is not really necessary. It's not necessary to make it work. The interchange down at 133 in Southport is much, much heavier traffic, turning movements and traffic volumes than this location. I think if they can't work with the access, I would say that probably would be best for this property if it was just not there. I think this proposed access plan could work well. DOT could get what they're looking for in building this interchange if they really want to build it. And then there could be access for this property to develop, and it would be very viable. And it doesn't mean it would be built, development would be built next week. But, right now, a lot of people are looking at this area, are seeing that there's not a good access, not good access to property. So nobody's really looking at it very seriously. So it would take some time, but if DOT could commit to this access plan or something similar to get the movements that we would need to make this commercial property viable, then I think it would happen. Okay. There is a lot of interest down here. Folks are looking. I've heard folks are looking. Specific users are looking, but there's just not a lot of. They're not landing anywhere because there's not a really home run kind of commercial property. And this is probably it.
This is the home run.
This is the home run, but it just needs the access. And it's been talked about this property for years and years, well before the interchange. The other thing about the interchange I'd point out is that DOT's planned an interchange here for a long time. They actually reviewed it back in, I think it may have been 5 or 6 years ago, and they basically wrote a letter. I think I've got it here. They wrote a letter right here. DOT wrote a letter to one of the property owners that would be impacted by it and said, we've gone back and looked at the traffic forecast and we don't think the interchange is necessary. We think it'll operate fine as a 4-leg signalized intersection into the future. So this was back in 2013. So they had kind of scrapped it, if you will, before, and now it's back. But I don't think, like I said, I think there's a way to get a win-win for everybody. If DOT could work with the town and maybe the property owner there a little bit better on the access, I think it's a win-win for everybody. The access off of this little loop connector road here, so like I said, there's precedence for it. The fact that the traffic volumes are not incredibly heavy there, it should work fine. It has to be designed. It would have to be designed and all the details looked at. But at this point, I think it would make sense to just have that as an option. And DOT's not looking at that right now.
Do we have any questions for Mr.?
Just to say, it's kind of amazing to me that they're proposing to spend that kind of money there when the facts show that it really isn't needed. What would really improve the traffic flow in and from Supply all the way to Southport would be the 4-lane highway 211 all the way from 17 to Southport. They're going to 4-lane it anyhow to St. James. And the money they're going to spend on this interchange, as far as I'm concerned, is wasted money. This money could probably 4-lane that highway all the way to 17. And I'm not trying to be funny. It's probably going to sound funny, but what they're doing here is creating a 24-hour-a-day, 365-day-a-year Chinese fire drill. Can you imagine what that's going to be like when the tourists get here?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Why do they want to spend the money? I don't understand the whole thing. It doesn't make any sense to me to spend this
Gotta
money.
spend it or
They're
they lose it.
overcomplicating a simple solution.
Boils down to.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I've asked,
And you
but
can't comment.
I can't really comment, but I think, their own studies, and there may be other reasons for it, but it's certainly not to address traffic congestion because it's not there.
Well, I'm glad you made it clear to us tonight, and this is the first time it's been made that clear, that this is of vital importance to the town of Oak Island because this is the last good commercial piece of property we have to be developed, and it's going to be hindered by DOT doing some things or refusing to do some things that the property owners need to make it a viable spot for development. So I don't know where we need to go from here, but I think we need to let DOT know that we're not happy. And I think they already know that, by the way. Since the first meeting I was in, I think they knew I wasn't happy since then. But we need to speak up on this because if we don't, if the people don't get up in arms over it, we're going to be left stuck.
We've waited many, many, many years for that commercial corridor to be developed, and then to have it ruined because of lack of cooperation and common sense. I'd like to hear from my council, some of your others' opinions. What do you think about losing the revenue and the economic impact it'll have on our town?
I think ever since I came in office, one of the plans we had in our minds and tried to pursue was developing that corridor out there for commercial. And I think for DOT to come in here and to my point and Jim's point, waste money on something that's not needed is just irresponsible on their part.
Well, it's not only wasting money, it's we're losing a lot of money as well.
Well, it's a lot of wasted taxpayers' money too, because it's gonna cost a lot of money to do that.
Those numbers you showed us were just for the land. When you put the buildings, the structures, or the houses there, that number, it could be 3 times that much.
Yeah, it could. I think it would take a little time maybe to put together a true,
That's
a
good,
true
but
economic analysis. But it's going to be a big chunk of money.
If they do it, it's really going to hurt this town financially.
I didn't even try to project those numbers out. That was just annually, and I thought maybe I should project it out for, 20 years or something, and that number looks huge probably at that point, so.
Well, when you're
number.
looking at things this big, it's logical to project out the loss.
Right, that's right.
Any more comments for any of the council people?
DOT actually came down here, right? They've been here.
He's not with DOT.
Well, I can tell you that a lot of the decisions that are being made from the office in Wilmington, and they seem to be the ones kind of driving this thing, at least managing it and trying to push it forward to get it done. And like I said, I think there's a win-win for everybody if they can build their interchange, but if we can just work on the access and tweak it a little bit, I think it could be a win-win for everybody. I mean, there's still some other issues with the interchange itself, but as far as the ability to develop this property commercially, I think it could be a win-win if the interchange was built and the access was worked out.
They're very creative. This is the same people that brought us that interchange at 17 and 133 in Leland.
Oh.
Yeah. That was very creative.
This one's relatively simple, and the reason it's relatively simple is that, in terms of the design of it, is that the traffic volumes just aren't incredibly heavy. So it doesn't need to be a big, high-speed, complicated, interchange.
I know that we did a resolution, Madam Clerk. We did a resolution, and we sent that to DOT, the resolution.
And I do know that was noticed.
What?
I do know that that was noticed.
It was noticed. Would it be proper to do another letter, a little stronger letter based on the economic impact that it's going to have on town?
If council would want to do that, we can draft a letter and submit it to you for.
Can I get would just a consensus work for us to do that? Get a consensus of the council for us to write a letter, or at least write a letter and send to the DOT?
Fire 'em up.
Everybody good? All right,
I
good.
accept that.
Thank you. Any more questions for Mr. Stevenson? Thank you so much. Appreciate
very
you
welcome.
coming
Thank you.
and showing it.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Can we take a break, please?
Yes, we will. 10-minute break.
Pizza later. That's better than cookies.
I'll now call the town hall meeting back to order.
Who we miss?
And we are on the sixth presentation tonight is by our town manager. And it's the presentation of the budget, draft budget, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. We're here to sort of hit the main topics on the recommended budget for next year. So we'll go through those. We are going to continue the 29-cent tax rate for the ad valorem tax. We're also going to increase wastewater and water rates by 1.5%. The study that was given about 4 years ago showed that it'll be a 3% increase per year. But we have been looking at growth and the monies that we've been able to do through the refinancing, and we're going to be able to keep it at 1.5, the same as last year. Current water rate, or the base rate, is $31.24. So that would be a change of 47 cents to go to 31.71. The current sewer base is 79.25. It would go to 80.44. And what that means is $1.66 per month, or $19.92 for the year. The sewer district fee, we are not going to have an increase on it, and it'll stay at $803.82. There's no other rate increases proposed for the stormwater or solid waste. We do have some capital outlays items in general fund. In the admin department, we'll be doing updates to some computer software and replacement of a few PCs and some printers. Development services, we got a vehicle replacement. We will have some field tablets which require license, data plans, and a computer. Fire department, we're replacing the SUV or a pickup truck. Chris still hadn't determined which one we're going to do on that one. Recreation department, it's time to do a new park and recreation master plan. Capital outlay for enterprise fund, the water department. What we're looking at is going back to about 7 years ago. We were starting to do a FlexNet system, electronic reading meters. So we'll go back into the replacement and installation of those. That is a rather large item, about $2.5 million. Wastewater department, we need a new lawnmower for the wastewater plant and the fields. Wastewater department also within the collection, miscellaneous pumps and equipment for the vacuum stations and lift stations. That includes additional maintenance within those areas. South Harbor Golf Fund, used utility cart. We have several new positions. Development services, there'll be one full-time zoning technician, and that'll be to allow staff the ability to process current workloads and to further the non-compliance issues that we are facing. Community Resource Center, one full-time recreation center assistant, and that'll be help to existing programs and to establish some additional services. And with this, we eliminated 2 part-time positions. Facilities maintenance, there'll be one full-time facility maintenance technician to provide assistance in the routine maintenance of town facilities and contracted projects. We did some reclassifications within the utilities and public works field. We created a water superintendent, wastewater superintendent, and a public works superintendent. And we eliminated the public works director and the public utility director's positions. Stormwater department, we're looking and bringing on one full-time equipment operator to assist with the stormwater system maintenance and projects. At this time, we'd like to thank council and staff for their hard work in the development of this upcoming year's budget. Council has had several small workshops with staff and has held 2 public meetings regarding this year's budget. There will be 1 additional meeting to be scheduled prior to the public hearing and adoption of the budget. Public hearing date is June 13th, and tomorrow it'll be posted online so everybody will be able to see the budget. And that's the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Well done, sir.
Okay, moving down to the adjustment or the approval of the agenda. Does anyone have anything to add or remove from the agenda?
I give you the additional application for the Parks and Rec Advisory Board.
Okay. Does anybody else have something? I have an additional application for the Parks and Recs Advisory Board from Miss Mary Ann Brewer. I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as adjusted. Second. All in favor, please. Thank you. Now we're moving into our public comment section of the agenda. I'll remind you again, it's 3 minutes, and say your name and address when you come to the podium. Lisa, do we have some?
I have Billy Latendra.
Hi, I'm Billy Laton. I live at 132 Northeast 11th Street, and I'm here to speak for beach preservation again. I've come to thank everybody for helping us with our annual event. It was our 18th annual fundraiser, and it was our best one yet. We want to thank the 17 donors who gave us food. We had 128 donors who gave us auction items. We thank the local wine vendors and their distributors, the choosers and the pourers of the wine, the wonderful owners and staff of Island Way who just make it just an incredible event every year. I hope you've seen the newspaper page that listed all of these people and all of the things, and that was courtesy of a donation from the State Port Pilot. And last but not least, all the people who bid on our items. 160 items were sold at our auction. The efforts of all these groups and all of these people raised more money this year than any year before. In the past 5 years, we have added over $50,000 to our Beach Preservation Fund, Trust Fund. We hope you didn't miss the festivities. I really wish you could have seen George's reaction when he was actually presented with that plaque.
I actually have video of that.
Your video was wonderful. Thank you for capturing that. If you're not a member of Beach Preservation, please consider joining and helping us. You can renew or join, and then you get first dibs on those tickets every year. They go on sale to the members in February and then not to the general public, if there are any left, until March. We'll be busy this summer. We're having the aquarium programs again at the rec center, and our first one is June 8th at 2 o'clock, and it's called Turtles 911. It's an interactive program for families. A lot of times people think this is just for children, but the adults enjoy it just as much as the children, and we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll add to that the tickets did sell out early this year, and I had 3 people that were craving them and couldn't get a hold of them. So it's a good idea to join the Beach Preservation Society. It's a very popular event.
Doris Beam.
My name is Doris Beam. I live in Morganton, North Carolina. Our home here at the beach is on First Street Southeast. We are close neighbors with your Middleton pumping station. This brings me to the point of my visit tonight. My parents built this house in 1974. When they passed away, my husband and I bought it from my siblings. And I mention this only because someone in my family has been paying taxes on this place for 43 years. Immediately after Doug and I purchased this house, we were hit with the $4,200 assessment for the sewer system. Next, we were burdened with the minimum monthly sewer and water bill that is just on and on and on. Now, this is our new situation. When we come here, the stench is so bad from that pumping station that at times it is just totally unbearable. For about 4 years, my husband and I have talked to various people with the city, and we're told it's going to be fixed. We're working on it. We've got this to fix the problem. We've got that to fix the problem. And it's going to be fixed by such and such date. And everybody's been very nice, but I feel, my perception is it's just a way of putting us off and, get on out the door. All right, we just feel like enough is enough. Maybe none of you were on the council when this stuff was started, and I understand that, but you're there now. We need some help down there. It is horrible, and it's not just once in a while. I could tolerate that. Some days, it's most of the day. And the last 2 days, it's been that way. We feel like, since y'all are responsible now, you owe it to the residents, the property owners, and the taxpayers in that area to do something about that stench. If it can't be fixed, and after 4 years of throwing money at it, and it's obviously it can't be fixed, my recommendation is to shut it down. Whatever you do, we need some relief, and y'all need to do the right thing by those residents down there. It's bad, folks. I'm telling you, it's bad. Now you're raising the utility rates again, and you seem to constantly be looking for different projects to spend tax dollars. And I'd just like to see you get this one fixed. Just fix the pumping station before you move on to something else. Like putting sand on the beach, those kind of things. Just fix the problem in Middleton. Maybe y'all could come down there sometimes and get a first-hand look. Go sit on the benches that have been put down there, which I find a bizarre move.
Excuse me, your 3 minutes have expired.
3 minutes is up.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll finish this in the paper then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kelly, in regards to what she said, how much money have we spent down there trying to solve that problem so far?
Well, we've had 2 different engineering firms come in, and we've had probably 3 different vendors try different kind of odor absorptions. The dollar figure is probably in between $30,000 to $60,000. There is another vendor that is coming to meet with the county about a problem that they have in a neighborhood that they have. We've reached out at some quarterly meetings and discussed, and they basically have the same problem that we have. The inflow coming into the station comes from 2 different directions, so there's not a simple solution to try to put it and collect the debris. That station that was put there basically is a raw sewage collection point, and that is the odor problem that we are having. There is some methane gases that come off through the carbon absorption system. We've tried different kind of chemicals. We've tried to put different kind of flavors or odor controls onto it, and I understand that there is a problem, and hopefully this next person coming from the county to solve theirs can help solve ours at the same time. The council has been putting money back for the last 2 years to handle something like this, because it's not going to be a very cheap fix. if we have to repipe it so we can get a one-way into that system.
So we're still diligently working on the problem. Thank you.
All right, you do have another speaker?
We had Rick Jennings, but, okay.
Mayor Brochure, Mayor Pro Tem Scott, council members, Manager Kelly, and Town Attorney Eads. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak tonight on my concerns also about Middleton Station.
Would you
Thank you.
mind stating your name real quick? State your name and address for.
Oh,
for
yeah,
our
I'm
record.
giving that now.
Okay.
My name is Rick Jennings, and my wife is Brenda Jennings, right there. And we reside at 106 Southeast First Street. Permanent residence, not partial. Okay. I'm obviously concerned about the issue, and I have had some correspondence with Kim Nix, and I think somebody by the name of Moore, I can't remember, but it was about a year ago. So I do have those emails here, and you know, you can look them over. I have not gotten much of a response what I think should be given to a citizen and a taxpaying member of this community. And so as we move along, you are familiar with the odor that's coming from there. Has emission tests been done on it? What exactly is being done to correct this? We had a party the other night. We had to go inside. We couldn't even, you know, we have a nice place. Randy Moffett is the best builder in town. I love him. I shouldn't say that, but that's what I said. It just grieves our heart to know that we can't even use the house the way it should be used. So I'm just asking for help from all of you all as to what is being done and when it's going to be done, because it's just awful. So I don't want people to say, oh, no, we can't come to your house, but we might be able to meet you somewhere else, or you come to our house. That's not good. You know, that's very poor. So just need your help. Need some cooperation, working together, and I want to figure out what's going to happen here. And that's all we want. So thank you again, and I expect some kind of reply fairly soon. I think you all have my email, and I would just appreciate a reply as soon as possible. Okay?
Could you leave your emails with our clerk so we can see who the correspondence that you've had? Do you mind leaving the emails?
I can't hear. I'm deaf as a
Do you mind leaving your emails with our clerk?
Yeah.
Okay,
Will
thank
do.
you.
The ones you referenced, I believe that you're holding in your, I believe the mayor is referring to the emails you said from.
Yeah, you want a couple of them?
past. Yeah, I think she would like you to give them to the clerk.
Yeah.
I can give
Oh,
him.
to the clerk? Yeah,
So-
I'll do
so
that
she
too.
can
You can just leave them there, I'll
disseminate
get them
them
from
to
him, it's fine.
Okay, thank you again.
Welcome.
That's all I had signed up.
All right, thank you, everyone. Does the council have any reports tonight? We'll start with you.
No report, Madam
Councilor Weinkoff, Councilor Baylock, Councilman Bell.
I'd just like to say one thing in relation to our last two speakers. This has been an ongoing problem for a lot of years. We've been dealing with this now for how many years, Mr. Kelly? 6 years?
Since 2010.
Yeah, 6 or 7 years. And we've tried different methods of dealing with the problem, but there has to be a way to fix that problem. And maybe we need to be a little more proactive.
Yes, sir.
I would even suggest maybe we might consider doing an RFP out to companies that do that kind of work to get some proposals to see what's recommended and what's being used all over the country to handle this kind of problem. Because I've been down there, I know what these folks are talking about, and I'll be honest with you, if I lived down there, I wouldn't be a nice guy. 'Cause it's bad, I understand. We're gonna push forward and try to get you some help, okay?
And I'd also like to suggest, Mr. Kelly, reaching out to this gentleman that brought the emails, maybe one-on-one with you, and maybe you could.
Yeah, Mark's going to give him a call in the morning, set up a time to go visit the site.
Great.
I don't have a report, but I agree with you folks. I went by there the other day and I just about lost my cookies just driving down the street. So it's something that we're working on. We've been working on, and it appears to be very problematic. But we put a man on the moon in 1969. So we should be able to find something. At least I hope we can.
And Bill, do you have any? All righty, at this time I entertain a motion to approve the regular meeting agenda, consent agenda.
Madam Mayor, make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second, please.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Committee appointments. The first committee appointment we have tonight is for the Beach Preservation Trust Fund Advisory Board. And there are two names, and I believe that is Rosalie Farley. By a show of hands. The other is Dwayne Murphy. Okay, Dwayne Murphy. The next one is the Parks and Recs Advisory Board, and that's a 3-year term ending March 2020. I'm sorry, I should have noted that the first term was, for the Preservation Trust Fund, was an unexpired term ending September 2018.
I need a clarification. Is this 3 terms for the Parks and Rec Advisory Board?
Yes, there were 3 terms available. I only have 2 applicants.
Okay.
So there's one, we still have an opening after we.
Correct.
All right, the first name is Bob Germain. Mr. Germain, all in favor? And Mary Brewer. Okay, thank you. Administrative reports. Mr. Kelly, do you have anything to report tonight, sir?
We continue to work with FEMA on the pier project. We have a meeting scheduled with them next week. We're also working with our engineer to come up with a design for the rebuild of the pier. We've also met with FEMA about the emergency dune project, and the engineer will be here next week to go over the quantities of the project that we applied for. We have received an estimated $525,000 for the small projects through FEMA and $2.6 million for the emergency dune project. We got a few personnel policies that we'll be bringing to y'all before July, and some changes there, and adoption of a pay scale and fee schedule, same time we do the budget.
Do we have an estimated projected time when that design of the pier may be coming for the council, the draft design?
We're hoping to give you something on May 23rd, or whatever date y'all pick for your meeting.
All righty.
I didn't notice that.
Mr. Eves, do you
Just
have-
briefly, Madam Mayor, if you recall the Emerald Isle case that had to do with public beach
Yes.
access, that case, we were successful in the state courts, but they have now petitioned for a writ of certiorari to the United States Supreme Court. So the case is technically not completely over. Statistically, the United States Supreme Court takes a very low percentage of these type of cases, but they have shown interest in beach cases before. So it'll be sometime later in the summer before we know whether the Supreme Court's going to take it or not.
So the battle may not be over for that.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you. We have some old business tonight, and that's consideration of a contract for Moffett and Nickel.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we table this until after the presentation by Johnny Martin on May the 23rd.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Motion passed. No business tonight, and at this time, I entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we go into closed session to consult with the town attorney on pending and potential litigation pursuant to NCGS 143, 318, 11A3.
Second, please. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you for coming. At this time, I'll call the meeting back to order, and I'd like to make a statement that we had taken no action in closed session, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.